Hey guys and gals, Never here from Drakewing Gaming. Instead of me on Twitter, the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you with a Let's Play episode of Rain Check. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right back in, shall we? Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go. Alrighty. Yeah, sure, I don't see why not. Great, I kinda want to pick his brain about Blackout in the truck I saw. Truck? Yeah, didn't you guys see it when you were at the power plant? It was like this huge, long 18-wheeler that people were throwing stuff in like it was the end of the world when I got there. Wait. What? We didn't see anything like that, and you're just remembering this now? The boar sheepishly nods back. Well, I wanted to tell you about it earlier, but you weren't in the mood to hear it. Ah, right. Do you remember what kind of stuff they were loading in? It looked like heavy equipment and a bunch of huge cardboard boxes. There was like this dude that accidentally dropped one of the boxes, and then Snowy went feral and snapped at him. Huh. I don't know, man, but yeah, let's head over to the Fox's place later. I'm kind of sick and tired of the hospital there anyway. You sure? Didn't you say the doctors wanted to check over some stuff with you? Yeah, but it's not like I'll be gone for the whole day. I'll be back before they notice I'm even gone. Well, if you say so. I guess I wouldn't mind having some company with me. Hooray! Oof! Without warning, he envelops me in a strong embrace, pulling me close against his broad chest. I blush as I realize just how warm his body is against mine. Yo, if we're gonna be out, I need to get my stuff. I'll meet you at the lobby in an hour. Sure, see you then. The boar disappears from sight, leaving me brewing in my thoughts. I let out a sigh, my mind wandering back to the night of the incident. Lawrence. I'm glad he showed up when he did, but what the hell was he thinking just ditching us like that? Thinking back to how Rue's been describing Lawrence, there's a small part of me that's suddenly suspicious of him. It's too untimely for him to just show up like that. Maybe he's involved somehow. But then again, he had no reason to save us if that's true. Regardless, I have some questions lined up for him. And then there's Javier. I hope he's pieced things together in these past couple of days. No idea how it went with Magnus, but he looked so frantic when he came to visit. But I'm glad he managed to tell me his address before he left. I stare at the ground, with paws clenching tightly. I don't know what's been happening these past days, but I'm going to get answers one way or another. I'm going to figure this whole thing out if it's the last thing I do. For him. I don't understand. Am I missing something? This doesn't account for what I'm thinking. I know that I'm close. The facts all seem to be pointing in a specific direction, but I can't seem to reach a clear conclusion. I stare at my screen again, rubbing my temples, trying to see if there's any flaw in my logic. I'm getting nowhere with this. I'm shaking my head to clear the document I've been working on out of frustration. Let me try this again. There must be something I'm not accounting for. What happened that night was definitely not a coincidence, and yet, how could we have conveniently run into Magnus of all people? Then Rue and Theodore were attacked by an unknown group when they were trailing the snow leopard. Highly implausible. And to top it all off, how was he able to join along Magnus's business meeting so easily that night? I shiver at the thought of the lustful white fox, as he's the first one that comes to mind. I try to suppress the unimportant details that had transpired that night, instead trying to recall the facts I had managed to coax out of him. He had a meeting with someone at the speakeasy, but they never showed up. That's why he was looking for someone. Ugh, that brute. I rubbed my shoulder at the thought of Magnus, reminded me of how he manhandled me while he was escorting me around. Why was he so persistent in inquiring me about the bigwigs? I thought all these investors and philanthropists would know each other somehow. It doesn't make any sense. Why was I chosen out of everyone else here? What about the person he was meeting up with? And what the hell was that contact that Magnus needed me to co-sign with him? Why was I needed as a witness? Something definitely isn't adding up. Or rather, it's like there's something contradictory that I just can't point out. What do they have in common? The obvious answer would be the speakeasy, but that's the place Lawrence was tasked to check out. And speaking about that wolf, I presume he's back in his vacation now that our investigation is suspended with Rue in the hospital, since he hasn't been replying back to my emails. Strange that I still haven't heard back from Andrew. I know he's busy, but it's not like him to be missing from action like this, especially with all that's been happening. Maybe I should swing by the office tomorrow to check up on him, as well as to give him the evidence I've gathered. I stare at my barely functioning phone as I stretch out my limbs from exhaustion, rolling my eyes as I spot the time. It's already so late in the day. There goes my plans for finishing up any report. Huh? Wonder who it could be. I'm not expecting any visitors or packages today. I stop to check the security cameras I'd installed and spot Lawrence smiling back at me through the lens. What the hell is he doing here? This better be good. Good afternoon, Javier. Long time no see. Lawrence, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you through email since yesterday. I thought you went on vacation. Email? Javier, I would assume someone like you would stray from using such primitive technologies. You know we do all our communications through the proxy. Yes, I would have, but my phone's been... The wolf shakes his head, cutting me off, then strides fully inside, brushing past me. Hey, what exactly do you think you're doing? Lawrence, I'd appreciate some kind of explanation before you carelessly waltz in here and announce yourself. Well, luckily for you, it's exactly what I came here to do. He sits down on my sofa, lounges, and glances around my living room, inspecting my decor meticulously. Did some redecorating here, I see. Rather drab, but I like it. The gray fits you. What? Why the long look on your face? It was a compliment. I continue to ignore the wolf and pay no mind to his banter. Not even a thanks? Fine. Why don't you tell me what you figured out so far? I roll my eyes and decide to go along with Lawrence's ego. Well, with the main investigation, not much. I decided to suspend that for the time being. Oh? And why's that? With Rue's current condition, it'd be wise to take a step back and reassess our priorities. Ah, yes. I was meaning to visit the Maroon Wolf, but I don't think that would be such a good idea, would it? Anyway, what exactly is the plan of action now? I'm not quite sure at the moment. There are things that I've managed to uncover, and I'm not sure what they might mean just yet. For example? The Delta Antarctic Expedition. He tilts his head curiously. I managed to accompany the CEO the night we were at the Speakeasy. Magnuson? Yes. Interesting. Go on. You don't seem as surprised as I thought you'd be. Well, with how things are going these days, this hardly comes as a surprise, would it? Regardless, he said he was waiting for someone to accompany him, but they never came. Instead, he asked me if I wanted to join him, in which I leaped at the opportunity to learn more since he's heavily affiliated with the group of investors at TIE. Lawrence gives me a small, patronizing nod. Very nice, and what kind of information did you acquire? Besides the fact that the Fox has an enigmatic taste in men, I was able to take a photo of a contract he needed to sign when no one was looking. The contract itself looked pretty particular, and I found it strange that I was there only as a witness for the signing itself. What was in the contract? Investment and partnership for various companies involving the Big Five, which I had only briefly heard about in passing. I paused, waiting for a response from Lawrence. That's strange, he isn't reacting at all to this information. Furthermore, I was able to learn from Magnuson that whoever set up the meeting with him at the Speakeasy that night went by the name Helix. Apparently Helix had contacted the Fox weeks prior to TIE and said they wanted to discuss an interesting opportunity with Magnus as well. Helix. What an interesting name. Lawrence shakes his head and gives me a small round of applause. Well done, well done. I do have to say, you do have a knack for finding the most interesting leads to these sort of things. Unfortunately, it feels like it's completely irrelevant to the assigned case we were tasked to complete. Maybe not. I feel like I'm close to bridging the gap with all these loose threads connecting. Oh, do share. Well, for starters, the harbor fire and Cypress both point at Blackout, which loosely connects to the power plant. That in turn points itself to the snow leopard we met there, and according to Theodore, they were also there at the Speakeasy when I left. Magnuson was also at the Speakeasy that night, which doesn't feel like a coincidence. I stare back at Lawrence, his attention fixed to the heavy rain outside the window instead. Well, your thoughts? Lawrence nods slowly as he turns to face me. Not bad. You've gotten a lot of intel, but it's a pity it doesn't really matter. What do you mean? Just to remind you, our investigation is around the harbor fire that transpired years ago. Not to say that what you've deduced isn't meaningful, but it would be more effective in finding information directly related to the fire itself. I glare at Lawrence, stung by his patronizing tone. What are you implying? That we've been missing the mark the entire time? No, I think you've been doing quite exceptional given the leads of information presented to you. But I believe we're about to break this case wide open, and I require your assistance. Well, if you had critical information like this all this time, why wait until now to say it? Out with it already! He flashes his classic shit-eating grin at me and smirks. I found the survivor. What? You did? My voice is a mixture of surprise and disbelief, which clearly seems to offend Lawrence. He sighs and smiles, clearly sensing my skepticism. Yeah, I spent the past couple days meticulously tracking them down. But thanks to Rudy, I managed to pinpoint their location by the cliffs. The cliffs? Do people still live there? Explain your methodology. How did you track them down? But of course. Nights ago when we were at the Speakeasy, I spotted a suspicious figure exiting the building. That's when I noticed a peculiar mark along their arm, devoid of fur, so I decided to pursue them with the help of the glasses. I had gotten close enough to tag a tracker onto their coat before I heard Theodore in the distance. He reaches into his coat and takes out 2 pieces of paper encased in a thin film of plastic. Excuse me. One much larger than the other. Why don't you take a look at the larger one? I took that yesterday. He passes me the papers, in which I study them carefully. The larger one contains an image of an extremely blurry figure in a distinct-looking neighborhood. I presume this is the alleged survivor. I can't even make out their full figure from this. Of course it is. Their location stabilized there yesterday and hasn't been moving since until the tracker had ran out of battery. I think it's safe to say that the survivor resides there, won't you agree? Listen, I took the liberty of staking out their place to capture that photo. You can hold the applause. And as for the smaller photo, that's what their apartment looks like based on the most recent street view. Okay. And we're sure this is the survivor. Of course. Are you doubting me? I told you that they were most likely to show up at the speakeasy, and they did. There's even photographic proof in your paws. But where did you hear that from? Boss? Precisely. It was the boss himself that delegated the task to investigate the speakeasy. Remember, Javier, not all leads end up fruitful. That's why we're working as a team. I shake my head, squinting at Lawrence in annoyance. Speaking of which, I've been trying to contact him, but I've had no luck. Did he not tell you? He's on leave. He mentioned it to the people in the office earlier this week. But, that's right, I forgot you don't like to come to the office, do you? Well, aren't you glad I'm here to tell you then? I don't appreciate that comment. You know I get things done more effectively at home. Of course you do, but hey, and more power to you. So what happened anyway? Where did he go? And more importantly, when's he coming back? I have things I need to report to him. He didn't specify, besides the fact that he'll be out of the country for the rest of the month. Pocket the photos and give the wolf an inquisitive look before sighing. Yeah, these photos are important. Thanks for stopping by to, Sorry, I've been on edge recently. I assume you want me to look into the survivor if you're giving me these photos, too. Bingo! And of course, it's not to say that I wouldn't or couldn't do it myself, but you're more suited for this field of expertise. His legs bump against the table beside him, knocking over the items on the top as he tries to get up. Hey, what? Hey, watch it, you... My apologies, you know how it is with tall people. But maybe you wouldn't. He crouches down to pick up the fallen items and places them back on the table while I shake my head at his clumsiness. Anyway, I won't want to overstay my welcome. I'll try to get too caught up in what's already happened, and let's focus on wrapping this case up. If you can manage to dig up any more information on the survivor as soon as possible, that would be lovely. I don't know if they're going to be on the move again. Alright then, but what about you? What are your plans? Alright, I'm actually going to pause it right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!